The 100-mile-per-hour fastball is almost second nature in the game of baseball today. Nearly every pitcher in the league is pumping in the upper 90s, with the majority having the ability to touch triple digits. But that hasn't always been the case. Dating back only 15 years, there were only a handful of pitchers who could touch the upper 90s, let alone hit 100, and one of those pitchers was Joba Chamberlain. When you look back at Joba's Major League Baseball career, usually only the negative aspects are talked about, and that's not the road I want to go down. I don't want to talk about the midges in Cleveland. I don't want to talk about the Joba rules. I don't want to talk about the uncertainty on whether he was going to be a starter or reliever, and the mismanagement he endured early in his career. I don't want to talk about the freak injuries he suffered, although he does have arguably the coolest tattoo on his Tommy John scar. His career gets enough scrutiny from afar, along with so much speculation as to what he could have been that nobody really gives him enough credit for what he actually accomplished. What I want to focus on, however, is just how dominant he was early in his career, how good he was during those first few years, and how historically there were some of the best of all time. But most importantly, I want to talk about, unbeknownst to him, how much Joba Chamberlain really made me love baseball. How his energy and passion turned me from just a fan from afar into an absolute baseball nut, tuning into every single Yankees game during a time that I like to refer to as the Summer of Joba. December 6, 2005. Former Yankees pitcher Tom "Flash" Gordon agrees to a 3-year, $18 million contract with the Philadelphia Phillies after spending the past 2 years in New York. The addition of Gordon helps Philly, as they'd recently lost Billy Wagner to free agency and immediately slotted Gordon to be their closer. The signing benefited the Yankees as well. With the loss of a top-tier free agent in Gordon, they now would have 2 first-round draft picks in the 2006 draft. With their pick they acquired from the Phillies, they took Ian Kennedy 21st overall. Kennedy was one of the top college arms available, and the Yankees were looking to get younger with their pitching staff, and Kennedy was the perfect candidate to do that. In addition to the 21st overall pick, the Yankees got a supplemental first-round draft pick when Gordon signed with Philly, and with the 41st overall pick, they took Joba Chamberlain out of the University of Nebraska. Back in 2006, the Major League Baseball draft wasn't televised. In fact, it wasn't really that big of a deal. Prospect rankings were a thing, but it wasn't as scaled out as it is today, where every team and every position has a rankings chart. Most of the time, you never even heard of a player until they made their debut in the major leagues. But Joba Chamberlain was a bit different. Joba played in a winter ball league in Hawaii after he got drafted in 2006, and while he did have a solid season, he didn't do anything crazy that really built up hype around himself. He entered 2007 as a relatively unknown to everyone outside of the organization, but he quickly became a household name once he entered affiliated baseball, and he came out of the gate pumping. A young starter with a blistering fastball in the minor leagues, Joba mowed down hitters like it was going out of style. 51 strikeouts in 40 single-A innings, then 66 more in 40 and a third double-A innings. A quick stop in AAA, where he collected another 18 punch-outs in only 8 frames, was enough for the Yankees to bring him up for his Major League debut on August 7, 2007. Just as he had done in the minors, Joba came out of the gate shoving for the Yanks. His heavy heater proved that it could play at the big league level, and combined with the sharp slider, he was nearly unhittable. He'd yet to yield a run through his first 12 career games, which is tied for the 11th longest scoreless appearance streak to begin someone's career. Of those 12 straight scoreless appearances, Joba recorded a strikeout in the first 8 of those games he pitched in before getting blanked in his 9th. That streak of 8 straight scoreless appearances while recording a strikeout to begin a career is the longest streak in Major League Baseball history, a streak which was later matched by Ryan Dull in 2015. A solo home run would end his consecutive scoreless inning streak at 17 2/3, and his consecutive scoreless appearance streak at 12, but that'd be the extent of damage Joba would allow during the 2007 season. In total, he pitched to the tune of a .38 ERA, .750 whip, a 12.21 ERA plus while striking out 34 hitters and holding them to just a 15 OPS plus across 24 innings of work. He tallied a pair of wins, 8 holds, and a save across 19 appearances as he officially introduced himself to the league. With his microscopic .38 ERA and 12.21 ERA plus, Joba made some Major League Baseball history. Of pitchers with at least 24 innings pitched in a single season, his .38 ERA and 12.21 ERA plus were both Major League records in the live ball era. Both of these totals would be bested last season by Devin Williams, with Joba being bumped into the number 2 spots in both categories. After his record-setting season in 2007, the hype that had been built around Joba was reaching new heights. Before, it was pretty much contained in New York, but slowly as the season went on, it went national. Coming into the 2008 season, MLB.com had Joba ranked as the 5th best prospect in baseball. Baseball Prospectus and Bleacher Report had him ranked as the 4th best prospect in baseball, ahead of future Hall of Famer and fellow 2006 first-rounder Clayton Kershaw. Now, everyone knew that a .38 ERA was going to be nearly impossible to duplicate. That level of production is unsustainable, but expectations were still high for Joba entering his sophomore year in the league. His 2008 season can be broken down into 3 parts: his first stint in the bullpen, his run as a starting pitcher, and his second stint in the bullpen to close out the season. Let's start on opening day 2008, where Joba's season began out of the bullpen. Joba began the 2008 season the same way he began his career, scoreless. He didn't allow a run in the first 5 outings of his season, bringing his career ERA at the time down to a staggering .30. He'd get touched up for a run in outing number 6, but then settle back down and go into cruise control. But towards the end of April, whispers of him being slotted in the rotation became a reality when Hank Steinbrenner, George Steinbrenner's son and co-owner of the ball club, announced that he wanted Joba in the rotation. And when the Steinbrenners say something, it happens. While easing into the workload of a starting pitcher, Joba was still dominant out of the bullpen. By the time May had wrapped up, Chamberlain was pitching to the tune of a .228 ERA across 23 2/3 innings of work, complemented by 30 Ks and a .558 opponent OPS. A .228 ERA is extraordinary for a relief pitcher, and combined with his work a year prior, it looked like he could handle any role that was given to him. Once May had wrapped up, it was clear that Joba was going to move to the rotation full-time, and he made his first career start on June 3rd, 2008, opposed by Roy Halladay. He was still easing into the rotation when he made his first career start, and only went 2 1/3 innings due to his pitch count, but you could tell that he was still getting used to this whole starting thing. 1 hit and 4 walks led to an earned run, while 3 strikeouts helped him get a no decision in an eventual Yankees loss. But he got his feet wet as a starting pitcher, and that's what the main goal was. But once he settled into his starting role, it looked like the Yankees had their next great starting pitcher. 1 earned against Houston in his 3rd start. 1 earned against San Diego a week later. 6 2/3 scoreless against Pittsburgh a week after that. A 3-game stretch to close out July against Oakland, Boston, and Baltimore, in which he allowed only 2 earned runs in 19 innings of work, striking out 23 and leading the Yankees to victory in all 3 of those games. Through his first 11 career starts, it looked like Joba was the exact same pitcher in the rotation that he was out of the bullpen. He was pitching to a .223 ERA, a smidge better than the .228 he posed out of the pen, and he didn't allow more than 3 earned runs in any of his outings. Across 60 2/3 innings, he struck out 69 hitters, but more importantly, the Yankees picked up a win in 8 of those 11 games. And then came August 4th in Arlington, Texas. Chamberlain had the worst outing of his professional career, allowing 5 earned over 4 2/3 innings, and getting hit with a loss. But even more concerning was him leaving the game with an apparent injury, which ended up being diagnosed as rotator cuff tendonitis. He would return less than a month later, this time in the bullpen, and it looked like things were getting back on track for Chamberlain. He tossed 11 1/3 innings, allowing only a single run, ringing up 14 heading into the final day of the season. He'd go on to allow a pair of runs to score in his final outing, but overall his second stint in the bullpen went pretty solid. He pitched to a .238 ERA over those final 11 1/3 innings, with those aforementioned 14 strikeouts, but more importantly, the Yankees winning 9 of the 10 games he pitched in. All in all, Joba's first full season in the big leagues was a success. He'd logged just a tad over 100 innings of work, appearing in 42 games with 12 starts to the tune of a .260 ERA, a .170 ERA+, 118 strikeouts, tallying a 3.5 WAR en route to an 8th place finish in the AL Rookie of the Year voting. At the time, you'd think that this would have been the beginning of a great career for a budding young pitcher, but it would end up being the height of his success. He'd go on to win a ring with the Yankees the following season in 2009, but his performance suffered, and he never quite tapped into that potential he once showed. I said at the start of this video that I only wanted to focus on the positives of Joba Chamberlain's career. That 2-year stretch in 07 and 08 that he had was so electrifying and so captivating that it made me not only a bigger baseball fan, but a Joba Chamberlain fan for life. So much so that my original AIM username, remember that, was YankeesFan262, after my favorite player of all time in Derek Jeter, and my favorite pitcher of all time in Joba Chamberlain. As a big kid myself growing up, I saw this big guy on the mound mowing down hitters and throwing the ball at insane speeds that I quickly idolized him. I'd watch every single game to make sure I didn't miss when he pitched, and when he did get slotted in the rotation, I was in front of the TV for every single pitch of those games. I remember being at a neighbor's house one time for a barbecue during one of his starts, and while everyone was outside enjoying a nice summer's day, I was in their kitchen watching my favorite pitcher do his thing. He was a guy who had his own style, and I wanted to mimic it. From things as small as the way he wore his hat low and his brim slightly bent, to the fire and passion that he played with. He was a pitcher I wanted to be. And although I didn't possess a rocket right arm like he had, I tried my best. Joba Chamberlain's career is misunderstood. It's remembered for its negatives and what could have been instead of the dynamic success he had early on. He was a great pitcher who never really got the recognition he deserved, and he energized an entire city during his short run in the late 2000s. I'm just thankful I was able to feel that energy and watch him pitch during his heyday, and for the passion of baseball he passed on to me.